I've got a full range of what I would call my medium and larger size butane torches. Now the reason why I have them lined up is I want to talk about what they all have in common. You saw the pencil torches, some of them were self-starters and some were not. All of these are self-starters, meaning I don't need to fiddle around with a Bic lighter, a candle, or a striker, if you've ever heard of those. So these, I would say, are medium range. These are stronger. Now the two things that are going to determine how strong your butane torch is, remember they're all butane, so it's always going to be the same gas, is how full is the tank and how big is the tank. So the bigger the tank is, the stronger it's going to be. And the more full, or if your glass is half full or half empty, the more full it is, the stronger it will be. And sometimes what you can do is you can use that to your advantage. If you only have one torch, and let's say it's a big one, but you have a tiny little project, then you'll be a lot more successful using the torch half full or half empty, depending on your persuasion. So what they all have in common is that they all have the same kind of valve in the bottom. And what I like to do from a safety perspective is I like to pretend they're always leaking, because out of hundreds and hundreds of these torches, some of them are bound to be leaking. So if your torch was leaking, how would you treat it? Well, one thing you want to make sure is that all the feet have a hole in them, a big hole. And the reason why they have holes in them is that the gas, if it is leaking, is not going to pool inside. Now, that's important because if the space down here fills up with gas, what'll happen is when it's lit, the gas is sort of going, the vapors are going to escape and kind of come up to here, and you see where this is going, it's going to ignite. So that's why it's important that the feet have holes in them. Another thing that they all have in common is they all have the same valve. They look exactly the same, they're the same size. And they made it that way so that the butane, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, the butane can will fit in here, and you won't accidentally be putting in, for example, propane or acetylene or unleaded gas for your car, because it's just not going to fit. So that's what they all have in common. Now the heads are, some of them, even though they're different models from different companies, some of the heads are very similar, such as all these heads, and they're from different companies, but the heads are all basically work the same way. A great little torch to start with is this one, the micro torch, which you can get at beachucation.com. It has a safety in the back. I just hold it down, sort of slide it down, click and hold. There we go. And then I lock it by pressing that in. Whoop, let's try it again. There we go. You have to do it in the right order. The reason why they have this, it's a child safety feature, so sometimes they're a little adult proof too. Okay, so that's how that one works. And then you hit the trigger to turn it off. So my torch lineup, I wanted to show how sometimes you might get a torch. It's a little more difficult to light. With this kind, Burns-O-Matic, again, they have several different models. I encourage my students, when they're lighting a torch, to always set it down, because for some reason it seems to be human nature to go like this when they're trying to light it. And what's wrong with this picture? I'm aiming right at the Teflon pan or the table or my lap, all of which is bad. But if you set it down like this, you've got a little bit more leverage, and you want to make sure that there's nothing in front of you again. Now on this model, you pull the little beard, I call it a beard. You pull it all the way down, you start the trigger and hold it, and then you can let go of the beard because the trigger is halfway engaged. Click, hold, and lock it at the back of the neck, right there. You can turn it up, and you can turn it down. And here is the handy, everybody always asks, what's this for? And I go, try it, and they go, oh. I call this the handy cigar feature, just in case you want to light up a cigar while you're working. No, what this is actually doing is it's plugging up those breathing holes that I talked about earlier with the regulator. So this is what it looks like when just gas comes out, and it looks a lot like that candle that I demonstrated in the beginning. Now to turn this one off, you just go like that. Okay, now these have the same heads, and these models are made by Bonjour. So while these are considered butane torches because you get them at a hardware store generally, beaducation.com. And these, Bonjour, are chef torches, otherwise known as creme brulee torches. Same torch. These are like the boy torches and these are the girl torches. Now, even though these are different sizes and this one has a little window where you can see how much gas is in there, the problem with that is it's clear. The gas is clear. They have the same head, so they all work the same way. So number one is you have to push down the lock. The second thing you do is you click and hold. That, James Bond. And then you lock it here on the left side and you're good to go. Now this is turned all the way down. That's all the way up. I don't know if you can hear it or see it, but this is a pretty powerful torch. And then to turn it off, right there. So these three models are about the same. Now, this version is the silver lame version. I can't wait till they come out with the gold. It's got the same head as these guys, so it's going to work the same way. You push down the lock right there, that unlocks it, click and hold. And when it doesn't ignite like that, it could mean a couple things. It could mean that the striker's not working or you have to do it a couple of times. There we go. Now if I let go, it just goes off. So what I want to do is lock it here and then I can let go. And again, turn it up, turn it down, and don't aim it at your neighbor or your cat, the curtains, the floor. You want to work somewhere where there's a huge amount of space around you. Another version, this kind of looks like a penguin. It's got kind of a neat feature here. It has kind of a neat feature here because watch this. So that solves the problem of your feet always falling off. Actually, I like to use chewing gum in some of those, just kidding. So unlock, click and hold, there we go. And then to turn it off, goes like that. Now, if I hear gas, then there's probably gas leaking somewhere. Sometimes the flame can go out, but it doesn't mean the gas stops going. So you've got to listen. You can smell the gas, so you should be sensitive to that. You should work somewhere that's well ventilated, but you can't work somewhere where there's a breeze. So working outside where there's a breeze or wind is probably not going to work very well because it means that your flame is going to be inconsistent and you can't control the flame and the heat on your piece. So all of these have a lot of things in common, and new torches are coming out every year, every half year, but basically these are they all have the same basic functions. Couple things here. Don't touch this even after they're off because you can brand yourself on this. The tips get very, very hot.